All right, welcome to Night Court Narrative. I can't get Aqua to stop talking for us to even do an intro. So this is a perfect
Oh my
start.
god. This is great.
Oh my God.
I'm being over dramatic. I'm Aqua, by the way, the supposed drama queen. Although,
Whatever,
like,
I'm Elvish, I'm the better one. It's fine. So, as you can see, we have now entered our fall era. It's so
Yay.
cute and perfect. So we are going to be doing all things spoopy and spooky, and I ran out of another word. It's fine. So
Spooky scary
whiskey.
skeletons.
Oh my god, literally, I wish I could play that, but copyright.
I know, it sucks.
Oh, it's fine.
It's fine.
So, with these spoopy books, there are obviously going to be some trigger warnings that come into play, which we will discuss once we start. The book we're doing today necessarily isn't spoopy, but you know what? It's more into like the fall winter
We share the same brain. Oh, I'm Aqua, by the way.
You already said that.
Did I? I kind of forgot if I did my own intro.
So whenever a trigger warning comes up, we are going to have our spoopy companion pop up. And when you see this guy, if you are not okay or comfortable listening to the trigger warning areas, go ahead, mute, and once he disappears, we are no longer on that topic. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Or if you just need a distraction, just stare at him and just tone us out and, you know, just go completely numb to everything that we're saying. It'll be perfectly fine. Don't worry about
pretty
it.
much.
Yeah.
So the book we are reading today is Credence by Penelope Douglas.
Credence.
Oh my god.
I can't wait. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, so we're doing Credence by Penelope Douglas. Okay, this is gonna be a rough one. So if you've seen our other videos, this is gonna be a very rough episode because typically Aqua and I are on the same page through and through. Today, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go ahead and get to the book.
So, what I think is at the very end, let's give our rating for the book. But I feel personally, when I watch like review videos or like rating videos on this book, people just shit on the book, but they don't actually tell anything about it. And they're just like, this is the worst. I DNF'd it after one chapter. First of all, you can't DNF any book after one chapter. It's just not possible. You're just kind of a twat. But with that being said,
Bitch made.
like, for real. So we're gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, even though Aqua clearly didn't like it. We're gonna give it the benefit of the doubt.
Hey,
We're gonna say
I
the
gave
good.
it the benefit of the doubt.
Listen.
Okay. I went through the entire book. I'm just saying.
My heart breaks.
You'll be fine.
Oh my god. Okay, so for this book, we do have trigger warnings of sexual violence. We do have domestic violence. We have suicide, harassment, parental neglect, all of that good stuff. So obviously none of that is good. So once again, we will have Spoopy Boy, which I forgot to put Spoopy Boy, but I will edit Spoopy Boy.
You know, they didn't have to
Perfect
know
start.
that you forgot to. Yeah, you didn't have to tell them that part. Behind the scenes, guys. BTS. Everyone loves it. Ratings. Great for ratings.
But okay. So I guess we will start. For those who didn't know, Credence is about a 17-year-old girl named Tiernan. Unfortunately, her parents do commit suicide. And they leave her quite literally by herself, which, I mean, after reading the book, you know that she's by herself 99.9% of the time anyway. She ends up going to Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado.
I always want to say North Carolina. I don't know why. She ends up going to Colorado with her uncle and her two cousins, and the book is about
I see.
that actually. So let's go.
Now, a quick disclaimer. I had some reservations about the book. Although I'll be honest, despite what Elvish has said, it would have been better if I had known beforehand versus going to it, raw dogging it. Because I think I probably would have set it down, and DNF'd it if I didn't go prepared.
That is true. I mean, I can see that.
Yeah. Because there's a thing, I don't know if we want to tell about the uncles and the cousins just yet, or did you want to build up to that part, the actual relationship?
I mean, that's up to you. I mean, we can technically, because I mean, 9 times out of 10, the reason why people are watching this video is because they've either read it themselves, read half of it, DNF'd it, or they know about the plot and then they want to read it.
True, that's true.
So,
well, basically, my reservation was that it seemed very incestual in nature, because yes, uncle and cousins, but step uncle and step cousins, only related through a lofty marriage at this point. But we'll get to more in those details here in a few.
Right.
I'm just going to put that out there. That's part of my reservations on it. Then there were some other things, minors. We'll get to that part too. But yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll get to that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I did have a question for you though, because I know we meet Jake basically. So Jake is the uncle. We meet him at basically the very beginning of the book. He, in my opinion, I didn't really think he was very stranger danger, but you had other ideas and like other opinions. Why was that?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, okay. Like, a strange uncle, right? Who clearly had some sort of hatred towards the family. One, because it's never mentioned in the first place. So clearly there's already some bad blood there, right? I'm just saying.
I mean,
There already felt
kind
like
of.
bad blood. And within the language too, it just seems so awkward. Like, just coming in at a random, just being to someone's, world and things like that. I get that. Outstretching the hand, extending the hand and things like that. But when Tyrion finally go in there, or went to Colorado and with him, I don't know. Despite whether I was knowing beforehand on some of the things, and even during, I think even during would have been even more suspicious. But like, I know it's like, okay, this is going to happen, it's one way or another. And even later in the book, it confirmed what I originally thought, that maybe there's something deep-sided because one, Tyrion's father never mentioned him in the first place. She had no idea that he barely even existed in the first place.
Well, I mean,
It just
say...
it didn't feel right to me when I was like first reading it.
Didn't it say at the
regardless of what I
beginning though
know.
that like the lawyers or something went and reached out to him for being like the last family member alive?
Pretty much, yeah,
So,
something like that.
I mean,
That
it's
it was
not...
part of the will. It was part of the will too.
But that's
the
what I'm
parents' will.
saying. It's not necessarily like some super creepy guy like, oh, wow, like your parents just died. Let me go ahead and take you away and practically molest you. It was more so around, I'm your last family member. There's no one else, so let me take you under my wing, give you a safe place because you've never had a safe place before, and let's build off that.
No, right. Don't get me wrong. At first it was like that, but when they were actually together, it just seemed really awkward. I don't know. The exchange seemed very awkward to me. It just seemed awkward to me, but then again, I kind of get it. They're just meeting for the first time. They don't really know each other. But there were moments after that where he did a lot of staring at her. Like,
But I
really
mean, so
hard.
did she. But then the way I'm also thinking about it from an outsider's perspective, though, is it's always been him and Noah and Caleb. That's it. The only type of women that they ever have are the one night stands. I mean, that's practically it. So they don't necessarily have a woman figure just walking around, doing chores, doing housework or anything. So having someone now live with them, I mean, not necessarily in a sexual way, but you would be staring as well because not. I mean, they might
Yeah,
have
but
done it in
that
a.
was even on day one. That was even on day one, though.
Well, that's what
Like
I'm
that was on the same
saying.
night.
Like you
Yeah.
would. Okay, so like me personally, I would stare even though there's no like sexual intent to it. I would kind of stare to kind of like get movements down or like to kind of watch and be like, okay, well, what is this person like? What are their habits? Like, who did I just invite into my home? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I guess for me, I just think of it differently because me personally, I'm not really like that. Sure, I would want to know, but I've always like, I guess also depends of how I grew up too. Because for me, like staring is considered very rude for
Oh,
me,
right, yeah.
you know. So I think that's also why too. Because it also depends on like what we kind of believed in. So that's why I thought was weird because he's staring pretty hard right off the bat. And I get need to know what's going on, but I think even in the book, Tyrion had said like kind of staring really hard, even for her. I mean, sure,
Yeah,
getting to know and stuff like that, but even she was feeling kind of off about it, you know.
right. Well, I
So
mean,
that's partially my, I guess, my reasoning, my point of view on that is more because it's just what me personally I believe in, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think kind of derailing a little bit, but kind of not with the same aspect of like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The character development, just talking about Tiernan in particular right now, I think her character development is absolutely astounding because at the very beginning of the book, she is, she's very broken. She's very mentally and emotionally abused by parental neglect. They never cared about her. She
Yeah.
reflects on them as always. I mean, I can't say another word besides neglect. They wanted nothing to do with her. They hated her presence. They hated everything about her. And it really fucked her up. But then, kind of skipping to the middle of the book, she finally, like, learns her footing. She finds her way. And then at the end of the book, she's able to say, this is who the fuck I am as a person. This is who I want you to be as a person. This is who I want in my life to be. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I find her at the very beginning of the book incredibly relatable because she doesn't feel very copy paste like words on paper. She feels very, how do I say that? Like she has sides to her, if that makes sense.
There's depth.
Depth. Thank you.
Mm. I agree. I agree. Now, I'll be honest, some of the choices she made throughout the book was like, really? This, really it's like, come on now.
I
on
agree.
some of the things. Like, some of the things I would have changed. Like, the first meeting with Caleb, I would have been out of that place first thing in the morning.
Well, okay.
No.
Now that's the thing.
Hold on. I know I know we'll get to that part. But I'm in agreement with you to where at the very end she finally got what she's supposed to be, what she needed to be. But she made herself go through so much, which I understand, sometimes it takes a lot for a person to really develop and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of things that could have gone so much differently that would have been, I think, less traumatic for her and less of a struggle for everyone else as well,
Right.
There was like, the only time boundaries were set is whenever she had to force it, and even then it took everyone. It was so difficult for anyone to have any respect of boundaries. Probably the only person who really did the most was Noah, and
Noah.
Jake, I mean, he did too,
Kind of.
but
At the beginning, yes.
At the beginning, yes, but then he definitely deteriorated quite a bit.
Right.
Noah at first kept it, but as soon as he got a little bit, he definitely stopped.
Right.
Because there are some, I mean, even like semi-familiar or not, there's just certain things you really shouldn't do in front of certain things,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me. But, Noah definitely crossed boundaries, but he teetered back and forth a lot. And
I
for
think
Caleb,
he was the best out of all of them, though.
He was the more consistent.
Yeah.
More consistent, and despite everything, he did. He was a bit better. He was a lot better about it than the other two. Jake at very first, very good, But then I found out his intentions, which I was correct. There was even before knowing the book, there was bad blood between him and his stepbrother, which, mind you, is granted on what happened.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. You know what? I get it.
Well, I don't know.
Understandable.
Jake, he was good at the beginning, horrible in the middle, and then kind of teetered out to be like semi-okay at the end. Noah,
Yeah.
like you said, was the most consistent. Caleb, there's so much we have to talk about on Caleb's end.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, Caleb is basically an entire episode in himself, but we got that. But I kind of
Yeah.
want to touch base on what we were talking about before, as far as the very first meeting with Caleb and Tiernan. Obviously, at the time, she was a minor. Obviously, there was a lot of forcing himself on her. And obviously, it was quite literally about to be sexual assault. And even
I mean, as
though...
far as he went, that kind of already is on the grounds for that.
I
As
mean,
far as he went.
exactly. But the thing
Yeah.
is, although she said no... Did she? Because,
Yeah,
like,
she constantly said no, like more than once.
but never
tried to push
moved.
him back.
Never moved.
Well, I
Even
think one
afterwards.
or two times she tried to like hit his chest, I think.
And then even afterwards, whenever she finally did get away from him, said, man, I shouldn't have made him stop. So did she really
Yeah.
say no? I mean, did she really?
I believe she actually did, like once or twice she said no, but I think it was like a little too quiet. But one thing for sure, knowing Caleb's behavior, he would like ignore it. I mean, the only reason why it stopped was because Noah came in.
Well, and Noah came in most likely just because of the fact that she was underage. But other than that, I mean, oh, I have something to say, but I'm going to get so canceled for this. You can't sit there and say no and then blame the guy, but then say, I really wanted it. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, it doesn't work that way, because then it's like basically like a double negative. It doesn't work that way. So
Yeah.
even though Caleb was in the wrong at the very beginning for quite literally trying to sexually assault her, she wanted it just as bad as he did. And that's kind of where her first mistake came in, because it's fucked up. They're related. And it's also fucked up because she is underage.
And in
And-
general, it's just not right in general.
No, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a pretty gray area, because no matter what way you spin it, it's kind of damned if you do on one side and damned if you don't on the other side.
Exactly.
In general, one, regardless of wanting it or not, what we figured out later on is due to, her neglect. She wants anything to feel something.
Basically.
I think she even said at some point that, that the reason why was because she was so desperate for something is why she felt that way.
Right.
So for her, it's due to her mental instability. And of course, Caleb, he's a whole basket case on his own.
Right.
Well,
Well, then that's what I'm saying, like, on that end, too, because you're correct. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. No
Yeah.
party is correct, but a lot of people, like, in a lot of the reviews that I see on this book, they're always Caleb this, Caleb that, but we need to stop
Yeah.
always pointing fingers at the male in the situation and point fingers at everyone, because everyone always wants equality, this, equality, that, but it's never, let's make
They don't blame
everything
both
equal.
sides.
Exactly. And I do believe that Caleb was fully in the wrong, and I do believe that he should never have touched her, never have even done anything that he did, but she should have never had any of those thoughts. She should have been a little bit more vocal. She should have, I mean, if you have someone around you, I understand it's difficult, and I understand in specific situations it becomes harder than normal, but there are ways of making it known. She could have kicked him, scratched him, hit him, anything to knock him back, could have screamed, could have done anything to get Jake or Noah, or like to make Jake and Noah aware of her presence and of Caleb, but she didn't. She stayed quiet the entire time and then proceeded to blame him for the next few chapters. I don't believe that's fair. Even knowing Caleb and what a basket case he is, that's not fair.
Yeah, and I like how, and it's just this sort of thing is just like always gets me because I hate this sort of topic. Like I can withstand it and stuff like that, relations or not, something like that is just obviously one, never always frowned upon, that sort of thing, and two, like this kind of goes on Jake. Like how can you allow, your son? I mean, I know that both of the two may have some issues between each other, but even at the end, he even said that he had no resentment towards his father at any point, even when before Tiernan. Things just got more crazy with Tiernan in their life in the first place,
Right.
or afterwards. But he even said himself he had no issues with his father, which makes you wonder, like, due to his lack of communication, if there was some communication, Caleb would have come out, probably a very well man for that part. Because when he got
Well,
older, with Tiernan, he looked like a pretty good dad.
no, absolutely. And I completely agree to that. I think also it stems, I mean, obviously it stems from Caleb's parental neglect as well. Like, Caleb went through a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, more than what a normal person should go through. So I understand why he is as fucked up as he is. I do think, though, however, Jake should have been more of a parent to him and should have
Exactly.
sought help for him, especially at a younger age, so that growing up
Exactly.
and being in his 20s, he's not as mentally and emotionally wrecked as he was, because the one that was hurting him the absolute most was, in the long run, Jake.
Yeah. Exactly. That's pretty much what I was gonna get at. At that point, that stems on the father. That is on Jake, the way how Caleb is. I mean, sure, Caleb is old enough to make his decisions, but if he doesn't have the basis of like a good foundation of right and wrong, like just going up to a girl in general, given that Tiernan was more or less exposed because she had ripped her clothes because she had night terrors,
Yeah.
and she had to the point where she rips her clothes, she frails around, or not frail, or yeah, flails around, and things like that, and just immediately just went after her like a rabid dog,
Yeah.
like a feral beast,
Well,
and it's just
and
like, you know,
I mean, that again, that what he did was not okay. And I cannot say that enough. What he did was not okay. And I am not validating that or anything. But the same thing, like what we said about Tiernan, she was so heavily neglected, all she wanted to do was feel something. That goes the
yeah,
same way for Caleb. He was so heavily neglected, and it's like you said, I know for his age, he could go out and seek help, but at this point in his life, he's too far gone. He was, I'm gonna misspeak. I feel like he was 6 when his mom forgot about him. Somewhere around there?
no, 4. It was
4.
4. So if you
So,
want, I can explain that part if you want.
well, yes. So go ahead. Well, let me say what I'm gonna say really quickly, and then
Okay,
by all means explain that. This
sure.
ghosty boy is gonna stay on the screen the entire time, basically.
Oh
but
yeah, it's about getting heavy up in here.
but the thing is, just like Tiernan, she wanted to feel something, so she never fully did what she needed to get her point across. But at the same time, with how heavily neglected he was too, Jake should have easily, from I would say like 6 to 12 ish, should have had him in therapy. Not even that, but should have had him in XYZ, making sure that he was exactly what he needed to be. It even sounded like they didn't really even go to school, because from Caleb's standpoint, it basically sounded like he was homeschooled but forgotten about, because all Jake wanted to do was chores around the house, chores around the farm, nothing else. And I truly, truly, truly feel the biggest victim in this book, or I guess the biggest villain, I should say, in this book is Jake. Jake is the sole reason why everything fucked up.
Okay. I can kind of see what you're going on that.
But yes, if you would like to explain, Caleb.
Yes. So, for basically Caleb's backstory, It's kind of still more or less fresh in my mind, but basically, to spark note it, to just get to the main points, Caleb, at the age of 4, was with his mom and was left in the car for a few days as she went somewhere to basically get high and drunk, mostly high, and was just forgotten. Left in the car in the cold, starving in his own fecal matter.
Wasn't she
Literally, I think that was
basically a
actually.
prostitute?
I have no idea, but she was a junkie for sure. Because she did say that she was going for like drugs and things like that to get high. And that the person who found him, who had found Caleb, was Jake. Because apparently she never went home. Because the car was still at the same place. And I think at that point that's when she got arrested and that got sentenced for child neglect. And so, to jail for possession and child neglect. And I think I think I already said that, possession of drugs. And so Jake had found basically a broken Caleb at the age of 4, all soiled, starving, cold, waiting for his mom to come back. And he even said that when he was little, he was very attached to his mom.
And didn't they say that the reason why Jake, the reason why I keep asking, by the way, for like the viewer, Aqua just finished the book yesterday. However, I read the book like 3 to 4 months ago, so it is so fresh in my mind. But a few key points, because I've read books after, it kind of like slips my mind. Wasn't it said too, like Jake said the whole reason why he doesn't speak, he assumed it's because Caleb kept crying for his mom until his voice went out?
Yeah. I think that's partially. I kind of believe that too, because given that you're like a 4-year-old and you're starving, you're hurting, you're crying, you would be crying out in pain and asking where your parent is, where your mom is. He clearly remembers his mom, so and plus he's old enough to remember that sort of thing and talk. And so he was calling out his mom, and I think he even said it too. Yeah. And that after that, he just didn't spoke because he got betrayed by the one woman that he loves.
Yeah.
And that was his mom. Which, honestly, when I heard that story, it kind of broke my heart. And it makes sense, his behaviors and things like that, and how a lot of his actions, he seemed like pretty much a giant, strong toddler.
Well, and that's what Tiernan said, too, because Tiernan said, somewhere within the middle, she said and described Caleb as basically that, a massive toddler. The way he acts, he throws temper tantrums whenever he doesn't get his way. He likes to pout and just make everyone around him feel uncomfortable, but it's quite literally because mentally he is still a 4-year-old child.
Yeah, but it turns out later on it's just he doesn't have any other ways to cope, and mind is older, because then there's that one chapter where he actually getting into his mind, where he clearly knows everything that he's doing. He is fully aware, so he may act like a child on the inside, but in his mind, oh no, he's a full-fledged adult.
Yeah,
there is no change in that. And part of the reason why he can't speak or nothing like that, it's said later on that he actually had to train himself to speak and read. So the reason why he couldn't is because he actually didn't have that ability, which we learned later on when he finally met up with Tiernan after she went back to Cali, California.
Well,
that's where she's from.
Yeah, and I mean, Tiernan, even after being in his room for a bit, found his books where he had been writing. So we already know that him basically being this illiterate, grown child man that basically Jake is so convinced that he is, we already know that that's false. Which then brings me to the biggest villain in the book is Jake, because he's the one that hindered him the most growing up. He's the one that is currently hindering him now. And even though Caleb kind of puts himself on the path of basically turning into his mother, Jake is doing absolutely nothing to stop it because he does not care. He just sees Noah as his golden boy, and he's going to do anything and everything to make sure that Noah has everything that he needs, even though he doesn't agree with some of the things that Noah does, i.e. like dirt bikes and stuff. But he doesn't give a shit about Caleb.
I don't think it's not that he doesn't give a shit. I think he just gave up, which is I think
I
is
agree.
which is just as bad. But the angle is still different. I don't think he didn't give a shit because I think he still cared, but I think he gave up because he couldn't find a way to connect because like everyone, even Noah was the only one who didn't exactly default with him, like, oh, he can't speak, so just give up on him.
Yeah.
But Noah, and I think even Caleb said, like, he really enjoys being with Noah because he didn't have to explain himself. He
Noah already
he didn't
knew.
need to. Noah just knew, or even if he didn't know, he just let him be anyways.
Right.
Just let him sort it out in his own way, which is what Caleb can only do in the first place. So that's why he was very close to Caleb. Or I'm sorry, with
Noah.
Noah, yeah. And so, because even he said it himself when it came to his chapters, that's why he enjoyed Noah so much, because he didn't have to worry so much.
And that raises a question. I mean, we're kind of on the same topic, but that raises a question too, because it was said that Caleb was alone in the car, as you said, starving, basically dying, alone while his mom, and I understand this is most likely the time and they don't really have too much technology out there because again, they're all more about like the let's be outside with the animals and all this, but how does it take you days to not only notice that your wife is missing and your 4-year-old son is missing? Because
Yeah.
as an adult, as soon as Caleb went missing or as soon as like this or that happened, Jake got in the truck and was able to find him within minutes. Was able to find Cece and the others immediately. But you're going to tell me that you, in the small town, this town is maybe from like edge to edge, this small town is probably like 10 minutes long. Minus the hill. Now, if you take the hill off to get up to their cabin, yeah, it might be like 20-30 minutes. If you take the only one road to get up to their house, the town is only about 5 to 10 minutes long. You mean to fucking tell me that you don't understand or recognize or notice that your wife and your 4-year-old son is gone for days?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think partially is that he was also at work, which took some of that time, which still could, let's say at least give 1 day because of work, due to what all he was doing.
Oh, but you come home from work or you stop work, not even come home because he works at home. You stop work and don't realize that no one ever came home?
No, I'm getting to that. So if anything could excuse maybe 1 day due to work or whatever. We'll give it that. But there's still, like you said, there's still some time in between. I feel like maybe they could have put more in depth of like why. But also at the time he wasn't there for too long by that time because he was also in Cali, remember?
I mean,
and then he moved to Colorado and stayed there and was building the house still, building that house. And I think it did say at some point where he was looking but couldn't find her, but then when he finally did, it had been that long already. So I want to say that was the case. That part was kind of worded weird to me, or at least when I was listening to it was kind of worded weird. So it makes it seem like he was looking, but it doesn't actually say that he was. And if he did, well, he still was more or less unfamiliar. But I figured if you're there long enough, you would start familiarizing things that are there, especially within the town, because if I remember correctly, she was found in town, in some sort of drug den area, whatever, you know what I mean? So in a way it still enforces it took you so long, but I think maybe there could have been more clarification on that point of whether he was actually searching or not.
Right. Well, and I mean, that's the thing though, like with the way it was worded. Now, it wasn't worded this way, but basically this is how I interpreted it. He basically went down to the store, looked around, she wasn't in the store. Okay, time to go home. he'll come home eventually. Like, what?
Yeah, that was also strange too, but I think it's just the mentality of a small town sort of thing. I don't know. That part's kind of lost on me because I don't know what it's like being in a small town. So maybe there's something that we just don't know as city folks. So
I don't know, because
but then again, that doesn't seem, I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me in the first place.
none of it seems right, because I really, really think that, you know, I really don't want to say this because this is where my brain went while reading it. I'm wondering if, as a child, because, you know, parents don't always connect with their children, unfortunately. And it's a very unfortunate case because typically when parents don't connect, it typically leads to neglect or even worse, as, I mean, parents typically take their children's lives. So, also, I'm so sorry for my sniffling. I don't know why, but like I am sniffling so bad, like my throat kind of hurts. So, I'm sorry. But like, I don't want to sit there and go there, but part of me thinks while reading it, like I really thought like maybe Jake already had zero connection with Caleb. He already did not like Caleb. He didn't want anything to do with Caleb. So I kind of feel like with having Caleb missing with his wife, I don't really think he cared because he was kind of under the impression of, okay, well, let her do what she wants. If they come back, they come back. If they don't, I don't care. Let me just pretend to look so I don't look suspicious. But if they don't come back, I don't really care because my life is better with just Noah.
Yeah. I don't know, but I can kind of see that, but it's just like I think a lot of it's just bad circumstance. Plus, given that he's still recovering from everything else that happened, but I don't know. It's really difficult to really get to this part because there's like a lot of things that could have been explained, maybe in my opinion, a little bit better. You know, more of Jake's side of things. I feel like Jake, not defending him, but it's also important to get all the details. You know, if you're trying to look at it critically, you know, try to get all the details, all the information as possible. That way, you can accurately make an assumption or a whatchamacallit, what's that word? Not a, well, I wouldn't say assumption, but to make like proper, I wouldn't say accusations really.
Conclusion?
But to get, yes, there it is. Conclusion. To get an accurate conclusion, it's best to have as much info on every side as possible, including theirs. You know, whether it's honest or not, it's still good to have that insight. And I feel like a lot of that was only said through. I don't think Jake really talked too much about it, because even said even for him it was terrible. But I think the person who talked about it was Noah, I believe. And so. And it's never really talked about. Jake did, I believe he did talk to Tyrion about it a bit, but they kind of glossed over the information because in the book, Noah already taled about it. And Noah gave more details than Jake did. You know, at least to me, that's what it felt like. But I could be wrong. There were some parts that were a little skewed because it felt like the same thing happened twice when they were giving out the information. So it felt kind of weird for me. I don't know. That's just me because I have hearing dyslexia because I like to be selective because I'm special. I'm very special, guys. If you haven't noticed, I'm special in cringe. Yeah. But yeah, I had to make sure my reading and my listening are just as dyslexic as the other. Come on now.
Well, yeah,
But,
I don't know.
yeah.
I
feel like there could have been more, is what I'm saying. There should have been more clarification.
But I think, you know, as I mentioned earlier, there is basically an entire episode of just Caleb. So there's obviously more that we have to say. I know we can't necessarily give too many details because of the YouTube TOS, but this book was spicy. Kind of an uncomfortable spicy.
To me, it felt really uncomfy on a lot of the spiciness. A lot of it was very predatory in so many levels. And that's what's made me the most uncomfy. That's what made it very difficult.
Right. Because I know one of the trigger warnings was slight bondage, But there wasn't really that much. I don't know why that's a trigger warning. And
It
then
was more because of the wrist collar thing with Caleb.
yeah, but it was very weird. I know that's not a good word to say, but it was very weird. And it was, I mean, this is the hard part. This is the hard part to talk about because it's like, how do we say this? So, you know, talking about the incest version or like side of the book, as Aqua mentioned it earlier, I guess if you are here this far and because you're interested in the book and you haven't read it yet, I mean, strap in, quite literally. But you know, Tiernan ends up finding herself with her uncle and both of her cousins, even at the same time, which was weird. But then chooses one over the other two for a while, and then switches, and then chooses that one over the other two, and then finally switches to the final one, which she, I guess, spoiler alert, later marries and has a child with. So this book is very incredibly spicy. It is very uncomfortable. However, I liked it. I liked the book. I did not appreciate certain chapters, and I wish I could never read those specific chapters ever again. Specifically the chapter in the living room with Noah and Caleb.
Yeah.
And then
she was still a minor at that part, if I remember correctly.
correct.
Yeah.
And then specifically her birthday. Kind of did not appreciate any of that either. Because an hour practically after you turn 18 does not change much. Just the number on your...
It's just the legal part that changes. That's it. And so Uncle went to town.
Several times.
Yep.
And
in the truck and in the bed in the bathroom.
And kitchen, yes?
No, he was just virtually shirtless. No, it was hanging open. Oh no, there was that time in the kitchen, yeah, still before she was 18. Just rubbing. Lots of rubbing, heavy petting. This is what they call heavy petting. Very heavy petting.
And unfortunately, the uncle got super territorial to the point where it officially turned her off. And then he finally was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm your uncle. Let's not do this. So then she decides to say, you know what? I'm done with you. Hey, Noah, how's your day?
Yeah,
and
that's
shower.
Yeah,
and
that's
dirt
also
bike.
what I really, yeah, that's what I really disliked about her actions. Like, you're just going back and forth and back and forth. Like, I mean, I get the need and the feeling, but really, with your relatives, sure, it's step relatives, but there's gonna be an argument here. They're not related by blood. It's fine.
Well, okay, so even if we ignore the fact that they're family for a second, even if we ignore the fact that they're family, none of this is okay. None of this is even remotely okay because,
exactly.
Even on the side of just hopping from one to another, like, there are so many things that could have gone wrong. So many things that could have gone wrong. And she didn't stop to think about that, and neither did they. Also, thinking about it too, they were also hopping from person to person.
Yep. Constantly.
So, within the time span of a week, each individual person, obviously besides Tiernan, each individual person probably had 3 to 4 people in their bed. And then
Oh yeah,
Tiernan went in
easily.
afterward.
Mm-hmm. Once they got locked up because they got locked into the snow, it was a field day to Tiernan from all three of
Oh
them.
my god, I'm so glad you said that because yeah. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
thing. They tried to get Tiernan to leave. Well, they didn't try. Let's be real. It's like
No,
the
they didn't. They wanted her to stay no matter what because they wanted
let's be
somebody.
real. Right. They're
Yeah.
the oh no, please go. Oh no. Oh no. You know, it's one of those. You should go and be happy elsewhere. Oh no.
Yeah.
But then they knew as soon as they got snowed in, the only female in the house of 3, I mean, men whores, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
And very mentally wrecked one at that. It was, like you said, a field day. It was basically however much she could take. For months.
Mm-hmm. It's just that was just a recipe for disaster in the first place. One, again, Tiernan's actions. I get it. You know, you're dealing with some things, but after the first meeting with Caleb, you should have been out for one thing. Second, you should have told Jake, the parental figure, for another thing, because one, that's not okay. And 3, staying with 3 dudes who've already been trying to like hint at you more than once.
Yeah.
Really, you
Well,
asked. Okay, I'm probably gonna cancel for the same too, but that's asking for it at that point.
I mean,
You
it
know?
is. It is. I agree.
I
Because,
hate to say it that way because I don't like that kind of mentality, but
well, that's like what I said
if
at the
it,
very beginning, too. Like, we don't, this is such a hard topic. Because I don't agree with that, obviously, just like you said. I don't. But it's like you said, clearly staying in the house, clearly hopping, clearly doing all this. She was literally asking for it. I mean, physically asking for it with how she started dressing, how she started acting around them, but like verbally actually asking for it. But then in the long run, I think at one point she even said, you know, this is kind of inappropriate, but then that same day goes back to Caleb.
yeah. But I mean, but at the same time, each and every single one of them, they each are responsible for their own shit that they did.
Yeah.
Noah more so because he is a lot more aware. Jake was obviously aware, but for me, my issue is a lot with Jake and Caleb, but still with Jake because one, and he even said to himself that he relished in the fact that his stepbrother's daughter was screaming his name, Uncle Jake, while they were doing it when she turned 18.
Yeah.
And he loved the fact. And it's like, yeah, take that step, bro. I am screwing your daughter.
Yeah.
And she was perfectly fine with it. She was fully aware of it too. And I'm just like,
Through round 2 and 3.
I'm like, dude, bro, I get you have some issues. And it's understandable you would hate your stepbrother for what he did. You know, what they did. But just, really? That's not her fault. That is not Tiernan's fault. She is innocent. She has suffered
No, she's
just
not.
as much as you did. Well, okay,
She's
in terms of the sins of the father is what I'm talking about. In terms of, like, he had no right to put all his anger on Tiernan, is what I'm saying.
Agreed.
Because half of the fact that he liked her, or was interested in her, is because it's a revenge screwing.
Basically.
It was revenge screwing. I don't care what anyone says, that's what it is. Because he even said himself that he relished in that.
I don't think he would have ever,
like.
like, fully loved her.
Maybe eventually at some point as a family, but definitely not like.
No, I don't. Yeah.
It just be a constant use, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Because really, at first, all it was revenge and pure lust. That's all it was at first. It wasn't until later on when he really got to know her as a person is when he started to actually like, really care.
But then, like, what's with the weird, like, throughout the entire book? Well, okay, not the entire book, but, like, throughout, like, the beginning and, like, halfway through it, he did everything he could to, like, be the father figure to her. Like, you need to go change. You need to go do this. Like, what is this? What is happening right now?
I think he was trying to like fight, trying to be decent, but then he just like let it go by the time she became 18 and when she started to reciprocate. And so he's starting to see the chances opening up. And so I think he was trying to have a moral compass, but didn't. And sure, he tried to fight it, but I have never seen a grown man with less restraint than a teenage boy.
Yeah. Wasn't
Like, seriously.
there... I'm digressing a little. Wasn't there 2 living room scenes? One with Caleb and Noah, and one with mainly just Tiernan with Caleb and Noah present.
I think so, but I think one of them was more like normal, I guess. Just a little, hints and, sexual tension basically. While the other, that was when they were basically matching each other.
I don't think you can say that word.
Ah. Okay, yeah, I didn't even think about it. Basically one where they're kind of
It's fine, I'll just bleep.
And
No,
the
don't
other
keep
when they
going.
were
I can't
self-gratifying.
talk over you more. Stop talking.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
Stop
wasn't
talking.
thinking. Okay. It's a good thing it's a recording. It can be edited.
We don't edit our podcasts.
Damn it.
Oh,
That's
God.
right. We don't. Look, all right. To be fair to the viewers, it's been a hot minute since we uploaded. All right, we've had a lot of stuff happening in our lives.
Oh, so much stuff.
Yeah, so we're trying to get in the roll of things. I kind of need to remember about YouTube terms of service.
Because we are Twitch streamers, and you can say things on Twitch that you cannot say on YouTube.
Say it on YouTube. Yep, exactly.
I'm pretty sure we're already flagged for this video.
Oh yeah, it's fine. So pardon me for the words. So.
Oh my God.
That's why we have Ghosty. We should name our ghost, by the way. We need to name our ghost. Is it Ghosty?
Leave a comment down below if you want to name him.
Yeah. Ooh, yes. Leave a comment, please. Leave a comment some cute ghosty names.
Yeah, no, I'm just letting you know this ghost has been up 99.9% of this stream podcast. I think he's
tomato potato.
Just gonna chill with us.
Same thing. Yeah, just chill with us. Just chill. It'll be fine.
But yeah, that specific chapter still to this day haunts my dreams. The exact one that you just mentioned that I might forget to bleep. It quite literally.
Please make sure to bleep that part.
There is. That's basically a whole episode on its own as well. There's so much incorrect about that, because wasn't she still a minor during that as well? Okay.
Yeah.
And oh my God, so she was still a minor during that.
Mm-hmm.
On full display for both of her cousins that were actively enjoying it as well. That should have been the point in the book where everyone stopped reading, if I'm being completely honest with you. But we are all mentally unwell ourselves, and we continued reading to the end, which, don't get me wrong, I'm very glad that we finished the book. I personally, like I said, liked the book. I just wish I could unread specific chapters, that being one of them, because that one in particular kind of scarred me, and not too many things personally scars me. I don't get scarred or offended by anything, and that kind of did it.
Yeah, that was a toughie. I kind of like I said,
wouldn't say that word.
I was in,
I would not say toughie right now.
Toughie? What's wrong with toughie?
Noah. Continue.
Oh my God.
Continue.
Okay. I wasn't even thinking of it that way.
I am, because I'm now scarred for life. for a second
Okay.
time.
Alright. Okay, well, it was a difficult one. For me, like I said, if I didn't know beforehand of what was getting into, I would have stopped by the time it hit Caleb
Yeah,
the first go
I
around.
agree.
I would have stopped because one, certain reasons for that I will not say here. But second, it's just that sort of thing ain't my bag. Sure, I'm kind of able to withstand a few things, but when the book is mainly about that sort of thing and that type of behavior, that's a little much for
I
me,
agree.
partner.
I
Yeah.
agree. Well, I mean, I know it's not quite the end, but I'm gonna go ahead and just give it out. I personally thought the book was a 4 out of 5 star read. The reason for the 1-star doc was because of the literal incest and underage. So I went in personally attempting to turn my brain off and become numb to it, and it worked with certain chapters, other chapters not so much. And it was very, I mean, I have to keep using the word uncomfortable because it was a very uncomfortable middle of the book. But
Yeah.
overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Minus like 5 chapters.
Yeah, the parts where it ain't about basically sex, for the most part.
Yeah.
And when it ain't about, hoinky doinking each other, the book was great.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
There was a lot of hoinky doinking and really bad decisions. Like, come on, Tierney.
And I mean, it is
it.
a dark romance, so I do understand. Like, I know some of the viewers are going to be like, well, what did you expect? I understand that. But
Yeah.
I would be more comfortable with the dark romance as in like, I mean, I don't know, like consensual adults with extra trigger warnings than underage incest, you know?
Yeah, I agree. The underage part and the incest part was kind of difficult. Again, people are going to argue in the comments, I already know.
Right.
There's steps in it. They're not related by blood. Well, they were related by bond either way. It was still kind of like family.
Bond is not a correct word to use right now either.
Okay.
But no, like
My
genuinely.
word still stands because, but anyways.
Yeah. But genuinely though, I know a lot of people, they said, I stopped reading it and I DNF'd by like chapter 6. First of all, nothing creepy happened until I think, I might misspeak, but maybe like chapter 8 maybe. I think that might have been the Caleb thing. I don't know. Either way, like it's a very slow start of the book. In my opinion, I absolutely loved it. I loved the beginning of the book. I loved the end of the book. The middle,
Yeah, middle was tough. You saw my messages where I was struggling.
Yeah.
And struggling hard, and you were so upsetty in your spaghetti because
I
hated the book.
No, well, I was
hated
upset
parts of the
because
I hated parts of the book. The growth I understand, although it was painstakingly made on her growth. Like there were so many unnecessary things. Like for real. Shut up. For real, she could have done things so much better, and it was such a pet peeve. That's what I hated about the book so much. It was so much of a pet peeve. Like, girl, come on, I get it, you're struggling, but homegirl, there's so many red flags that is so blatantly obvious. Not to mention, I also want to point out that she had somebody at home who loved her, who treated her like a daughter, and that was her caretaker.
Mariah?
Like, why?
How do you say her name?
Mariah.
Okay, thank God, because I did not. So everyone already knows this, but
it's actually Mirai. It's because she is of a different ethnicity. It's Mirai because in the audio book, it made it seem like she was Indian.
That's what I thought, though. Well, see, okay, so the thing is, Aqua only listens to audiobooks. I read. So I called her Mariah.
Mariah. I mean, this both work because I think in the audio it showed both. It had both sayings.
Or I could never say her name. I just kind of like, it was like that one TikTok video when like you're reading fantasy and it's like brr, 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 brr.
Yeah.
That was her name.
Yeah, and either way,
He's shaking his head.
it
I
was
can only
Mirai.
imagine.
I am. I'm definitely am. You know,
Oh, I never took my medicine. Ugh, dang it.
you should go take a
I'm gonna
medicine.
do it right now. Continue.
Okay. But yeah, so Mirai already treated her like basically a daughter. Like, why would you not go to that? I mean,
Aren't they,
I
like,
get
the
maybe
same age?
curiosity. No. Oh my God, no. She is like in her 30s. She's around Jake's age.
Oh wait,
But
really?
actually, no. Yeah, she's
I
in her
always
30s.
thought no.
No,
I always
she-
thought she was like Caleb's age.
No. Oh my God, no. She's like in her 30s.
Did it ever say that, or did I just miss it?
I don't think it was explicitly said, but the thing is, she had to be older because it was mentioned at some point to where she was like, been with dudes because she had gave a Christmas gift to her, where she gave her a bunch of money. Tiernan gave her a bunch of money for her and a +1 to basically, go find some dudes and basically, go party, go to town with some dudes, whatever. So clearly she's older. I never thought Mirai as young. Because one, she was the assistant to the parents, which were both famous people, by the way. Typically, most assistants are not that young. They're around their age. Because they need somebody old enough to handle things, And also, she was there when she was taking care of her when she was a kid.
Yeah. Oh.
So that was definitely well stated in the book to where she took care of her when she was young.
But yeah, but think about it. Most like babysitters are typically around like 16 to like 19.
Well, she was 16. She was taking care of Tiernan when she was very young, almost like a baby.
That's true. I never thought of that.
Because Mirai had known her when she was born.
Right? Wow. Okay, I never
Yeah.
thought of that.
Yeah, she basically knew her when she was born, or at least at minimum maybe 4 years old, which still would make her much older.
Yeah.
That would still put her around 30s. But yeah, Mirai would have been a loving person. She already loved her to death. When they met each other, she hugged the hell out of her.
Right.
And I was like, why did you not go to Mirai? I get maybe being curious about your uncle, But I think with Mirai, don't get me wrong, she had a pretty decent future. Everything did work out in the end with Tiernan, with the boys. And she learned some valuable things after screwing all 3 of them multiple times. And making horrible life choices. But if she was with Mirai, I feel like maybe she would have not have to go through all that and maybe would have been maybe a stronger woman. I
agree.
I think
agree.
Mirai would have done a very good job because she loved her. Even though she got gifts for her and put it as her parents' name because she was like, she knew that her parents did not give two crap about her, damn about her. Didn't give 2 shits about her. But Mirai did, and she knew that, and she even tried to make them, have some sort of connection with Tiernan by making all the gifts from them. Try to make the effort, trying to be a proxy.
Right.
But not overstanding her bounds because she knows you're not her kid, but she loved her like one.
Yeah.
That is what I hated the most.
I agree to that
Is
completely.
I feel like Mirai in a real world sense, Mirai should have been the one to kept. But the reason why she didn't, she had to leave it up to Tiernan's choice, like a good parent should. Left it her choice. And as a good caretaker, she can't force her to stay.
My
She
ADD
wished.
sung State Farm whenever you said that.
Oh my gosh.
Like a good, and then my brain stopped and I just continued. Neighbors, State Farm is there.
State Farm is there. Please sponsor us, State Farm. That'd be great.
Continue.
But yeah, no. I wish Mirai had fought, but
I
she couldn't
agree.
because she was also respecting the will of the parents. She didn't have much of a choice, which I think was really sucked.
I think she actually had more of a choice in what she led on, but I do agree with that completely. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Mirai respected Tiernan's choice, especially after just losing her parents and knowing what all the crap that she's been through. She, regardless of all the power that she could have done or this choice that she could have forced Tiernan to do, she couldn't bring herself to do it because she wanted her to figure it out.
I
She
ultimately
needed her to figure
think,
it out.
yeah, and I ultimately think too, like if she pushed herself on Tiernan in a way of making her stay, I feel like in the numb sense and the disassociated state that Tiernan was in, it would have probably led to some hostility and possibly some ill
Yeah,
feelings and ill.
probably ruined the relationship too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which I really hated because uh things would have been so much. I think would have been much better. Don't get me wrong, things went well with the boys, and even they got their shit together afterwards with dealing with Tiernan.
Yeah.
Because Tiernan did help them out. You know,
A lot.
but yeah, a lot. But we're here about Tiernan. Ain't here about the boys. We're here about Tiernan. She's the protag, so obviously protag come first. But I feel like with Mirai, I think she would have gone through things a lot easier.
Yeah.
No,
I
that's
know
just me.
we're here nearing the end. Can I just say I need to know your reaction towards it? Towards the end, so when Tiernan's parents were still alive, her dad ended up putting a tire swing out, and Tiernan was really excited, thinking that it was for her. Unfortunately, it was for her mom. They would go outside and they would be together, and I remember her saying that she was even looking out the window at them, and as soon as her parents looked over, the mood was ruined. They basically came inside and were quiet the rest of their life, basically. So the tire swing already symbolizes a lot, and it's a lot of pain, but a lot of memories just because that's all that she has left of her parents. And when she comes back, it's not up anymore. I don't personally remember, either it's wear and tear, like with either it's been cut down or the wear and tear of it just fell down. But she ends up going out to the window to look, and it's put back up. She goes out, she finds Caleb there, and this is the very first time we ever hear Caleb speak.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
when I literally, I physically covered my mouth, like in real life. I could not believe that. Like, how did you react to that? I need to know.
One, I was actually hoping that Caleb didn't come back, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I didn't expect a decent ending, to be honest, for all of them. But I mean, it happened, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. I just wasn't expecting it because of how the book was going. I didn't see it happening. They seemed so set in their ways that I thought that they could not change, but they
Valid.
did,
Yeah.
which is good. I just didn't. I just was not hoping or expecting it for it to, because it just did not seem like that kind of book. It just did not. But they did, and I was like, it's like he came when I saw that it was Caleb return. I was like, oh, he's going to speak. There's no way he's not. He did this entire change. There's no way in hell he doesn't speak. And then
Yeah.
he spoke, and I was like, yep, called it. I
Yeah.
just nodded my head and just said, called it. He spoke.
Yeah.
And so that was just me. I know it sounds very lackluster, but that's honestly went into my mind.
No, yeah.
Because it's just like, there's no way. If he met one, Noah showed up, and then Jake showed up, and I was like, you know what? I highly doubt they just left Caleb on his own. Because the only time when Jake leaves him on his own is to go hunting in places that he already knows how to handle. But to be completely alone like that, nah. Jake wouldn't do that. He had to be in the same county.
Right.
Because knowing his hold on the boys, he wouldn't do that. So I was like, you know what? Caleb's definitely there. If Noah's there, I can. If it was just Noah,
Oh
okay,
my god,
there's a
and
good chance that
yeah.
it was just- yeah, he came by, which was okay. I thought that was okay. That was
I
nice.
thought that
He
was
came
really
back.
nice. So with
You know
Noah,
what?
because Noah did
I like
everything he
Noah.
could to get away from his dad, and to find out that Noah's actually in California,
Yeah.
to go and live his dreams for once, I loved that. Every second
Yeah,
of
I
that.
was okay with that. Yeah, I was okay with that. He was fairly decent throughout the whole thing. You know, he kept things the most respectable for the most part. Like I said, consistent on how his behavior should be,
Right.
despite most of the stuff. But but when Jake got there, I was like, Caleb has to be there too.
I don't know,
You
and
know.
this might be a very unpopular opinion, but I don't see how Tiernan and Caleb ended up together. Okay, again, I do
Yeah.
not approve of this and I do not like this, but if I had to make her choose one of her cousins, it would have been Noah. They were quite literally like two peas in a pod. They were already everything that each other needed, but instead she chose Caleb.
Yeah, they had so much compatibility, but the thing is like, and this is maybe me being a little bit bitter because I've had this sort of situation where two people do seem like the personal connection, but one decides not to because they value too much of that connection. Because even she said it herself that no, I never want to lose this feeling of like safety with him, and it will get ruined if we went too far. That is a common thing that happens in real life. And so that's also what I hate about Tyrion too, is that she did that to Noah. Sure, they're cousins. Either way, she shouldn't be messing with them in the first place, for one thing. You know. And second, she said that she did not want to get rid of that Noah's a safety net. Noah's the person who I can talk to, you know, and that was it. There is nothing else that loved him, but never like that.
Right.
Whether he has said it multiple times that he loved her that way, and that it did not matter, that he would always still be the same no matter what. And so, you know, it just solidified what he's supposed to. His role is to basically just be the emotional support for her, no matter what. That's all he's ever gonna be.
You know,
The
all
emotional
that makes
support and
sense, but my
grounding.
heart breaks.
I honestly, when she said that, I was like, nope, Noah has no future with her,
Yeah.
and he knows it. He's just in denial. He's trying to grasp onto it, like every guy does, which made him very relatable and him likable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys do that.
I really,
And I
really,
don't blame 'em.
really, yeah, I really liked Noah.
Yeah.
I think Noah was the reason why I kept reading. I think Noah is the reason. I mean, I liked Tiernan. I loved her character development. I loved exactly what she turned into at the end of the book. I understand she went through a lot of stupid shit and she did a lot of stupid stuff, but in the long run, he was exactly who she needed to be. But I think Noah, alongside Tiernan, he was my favorite. He was the least problematic of all. Even though, of course, he made some stupid decisions as well. He was the least problematic, and he was the most, I guess, relatable, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, my favorite will always be and forever will be.
Mirai?
I was doing a dramatic pause. Yes, it was Mirai.
I was like, did he DC?
Nah. Do a dramatic pause.
I thought you disconnected.
You know, I was actually debating about that other guy, that motocross guy that like tried to kill her during the book. I was about to say his name, but I forgot his name because he was very not important. He was
I can't. I am so glad you said that. I could not remember this kid's name to save my life.
He's not really worth mentioning. He's just an antagonist in the book. And
Honestly,
just as part of just to serve plot, you know. To
I mean,
change for...
the only in my opinion, the only semi-good chapter that he was in was the fire.
Yeah, because it just tied that part together.
Yeah.
He tried to... Some other guy who couldn't get a piece of her because the three cousins, the two cousins and the uncle did, and the town man whore couldn't get her because he was some sort
What's
of
his
gangster.
name?
I don't know. Terrence. It wasn't Terrence. It was some stupid white boy name. Anyways.
Clint?
He's not...
Not Clint.
I was gonna say a different word, but we can't say that because of YouTube. TOS.
We're on the same page.
Yep. But he's very insignificant. He's just served as an antagonist to further the plot. He tried to kill her. it didn't work out. He was stupid. Got
Yeah.
overpowered by an 18-year-old girl for a guy who clearly can motocross guy. Them people are fit. Should have been no way, but he failed, along with two other dudes too. I'm just
Oh my god.
he deserved it at that point. Great for Tyrion, bad for him.
Well,
Either way, I was gonna say Terrence, Toyota Corolla, whatever. I was gonna say him,
no,
but
you
nah,
can't
it
say.
is
We already
Mirai.
have someone named that. You can't name him that too.
Tony the Tiger, right? Yeah, Tonka Truck.
Um,
A Court of Thorns and Roses. Read the first. Go to the first podcast, and you'll understand why I keep saying Tonka Truck and Toyota Corolla, Nissan Altima.
well,
Um,
never mind. You
but
remind me of the scary movie scene where they're with the
the
grudge
Japanese kid?
guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so not. It's so not an okay thing in 2024, but it's so funny.
It is not, but it was such gold. That is when there was real humor and comedy in movies, but people are so prissy nowadays. Oh wait, if I said that word, I probably get canceled. Next thing you know, we got flagged on YouTube.
It's fine. We're already canceled. It's fine. But
You can't say cancel. That's offensible now. Anyways, I'm sorry. I could go into a whole hour about that.
well,
But
are
yeah, so it
we?
is Mirai. Mirai deserved justice. Mirai deserved love. Mirai would have been a fantastic parent, and she got virtually nothing except a dicking from Jake. At the
Yeah.
end. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
So, are we ready to wrap it up, or do you have final things that you want to say?
Aaron should have been with Mirai. She could have done so many other things. It's gonna be a huge pet peeve, and I'm never gonna let it go. Don't fuck your cousins.
Yes. Well,
That-
with that being said, from here to the end, we are going to give our honest thoughts about the book, but there will be no trigger warning, just so everyone can hear our honest thoughts. So, as I mentioned earlier, I do think the book was a 4 out of 5. I absolutely loved everything. I loved the character development. I loved the relationships that were built before they got weird. And I like the relationships that stayed. So, as we mentioned, like Noah was a great support system, absolutely what she needed. And you know, I appreciate everything that he did for her. And I do believe if you wanted to read this book but didn't want the creepiness, I would look up the spicy chapters and skip them. And even though you're technically kind of missing some of the story,
That's
It-
like half the book.
it wouldn't, yeah, but it still wouldn't hinder it too much. I would give this book a read, but please, do not do the thing where you go in blind. I always go in blind to every single book. This is the one book I'm glad I didn't go blind into, because it's kind of like he said, I would have DNF'd it.
Yeah, you get the warning here. It'd be easier to prepare yourself. Unless you like to raw dog it, then you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. What would you rate it?
You want the joke rating or the real rating?
Real rating and then joke rating.
All right. I don't want. I could say 4 out of 5. I don't want to, because of so many things that are like set pet peevish. But trying to be not biased, I would say 4 out of 5. My honest is maybe like 3.5, maybe 3.7 in the middle out of 5. You know, it's just Tyrion really pet peeve. Just come on, girl. I will not let it go. I will not let it go. I can't let it go. I am struggling just to say 4 out of 5. I'm struggling to say 4 out of 5. Don't get me wrong, it's a good book. Besides the spice, it's a good book. You know, I get it. It's coming of age, literally.
Oh God.
Yep. And
Oh God.
this time was on purpose. This was intentional this time.
That's
The other
it.
ones were not. Yep, the other ones were not intentional. That one was. But my joke
That's it.
rating is 4 Adam Sandlers out of 16 Al Pacinos. So, yeah.
Well, do I personally think you should give this book a chance? Absolutely.
Just keep in mind of some of the warnings.
Yes, I do personally think that this book is worth reading. And even though some of the chapters do get very creepy, all I can say is attempt to turn your brain off and ignore the fact that that trigger warning exists, and you might be okay.
Yeah, you should be fine.
I think this is the most difficult episode that we've done, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard, not the word I wanted to use, to go around POS. But either way, that was Credence from Penelope Douglas.
And thanks for coming along this wild ride with us. We're not sorry. At least I'm not.
No. I mean, like I said, I would probably read this again sometime in my life. And I'll recommend it. I've already recommended it to one person, and I believe they're currently reading it, so it's fine. It's fine. But I guess while we have you, our next Boop Timber book is going to be Scream for Us by Molly Doyle. If you know, you know. If you don't, then
Out to find out.
get ready, because that's going to be a wild ride too. So,
Oh boy, I can't wait. Haha, murder.
oh my god.
Can't wait.
But yeah, thank you guys for being patient with us. I hope you like our little spoopy boy. Be sure to leave a comment down below with the possible name for him.
Names. If you don't comment below, I'm gonna give him a cringy name, whether Elvish likes it or not. So his fate is in your hands. So it's your fault if he gets a terrible cringy name. So deal with it.
I mean, yeah, that's facts.
Yeah. I'm terrible
So-
at names. Elvish know this.
Yeah, me too. I normally name everything like Gerald.
Or Steven.
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 Hmm.
I know, right?
We're gonna have a Steven watching this as he sheds a tear.
I know. Hey, look, Steven, if you just commented, it'd be great. Everything would be fine. You have to suffer. But no, we're gonna make you suffer.
It's
You
fine.
like a comment. It's fine.
But
All
yeah,
in good fun. All in good fun.
well, if you're new here, hi, I'm Elvish,
And I am Aqua.
and we are Nightcore Narrative, all things bookish. As mentioned earlier, just so y'all know, September and October we're mainly focusing on spooky, scary skeletons.
And fall.
And then November and December, we are going to have another change of pace, and it's anything, everything holidays. So I hope,
Ooh,
I
wintry
hope
shit.
you. What?
Wintry stuff. Winter. I
Wait,
like winter.
what was the last word you said?
Wintry shit.
Oh, it did not sound like that. I don't know what I thought you said. I had questions.
Are you have hearing dyslexia like I do? Is
Oh,
that
of
what this is?
course.
Ah, okay. Cool beans.
But yes, we will see you next week in the next video.
All right. You guys take care. Have a good night. Drink some water. Go hug a pillow. I don't know.
But not an uncle. Goodbye.
I did not just say that. Oh, that's great.
Say bye.
Goodbye. I'm not an uncle.